Teachers Union SADTU hailing the class of 2020 for showing resilience despite the challenges this year, many, many challenges. The first matric paper will be written today and the last just before the Christmas break on the 15th of December. The union also paid tribute to teachers who have sacrificed their time over weekends and after hours to prepare learners as best they can for these final exams. Mugwena Maluleke is General Secretary of the SA Democratic Teachers Union. He joins us now via our Skype line in Pretoria. Mugwena, thanks very much for your patience and thanks for joining us. I mean, I'm feeling quite nervous on behalf of the matrics of this year. They've had such an incredible year, so many things counting against them. How are you feeling as SADTU?
Good morning, Michelle, and then let me also appreciate the time that you have given us. As an organization, indeed, we fully agree with you that all of us are feeling nervous about our children. However, what we know as the teachers is that once they are in the hands of the teachers who are trained, who are prepared to sacrifice everything that they have to build resilience. And we knew that when we were calling for health protocols to be there, safety to be there, we were saying so because we knew that once the teachers are there, they will build the ambassadors. And these grade 12 are our ambassadors in terms of them showing that we don't have got to be defeated by a pandemic. We can defeat a pandemic by working together. So we want to really encourage all the parents to continue to be giving the support to these particular learners and not put pressure again on these learners. They have already gone through a lot of pressure. We need to understand the state of mind under which they are writing and appreciate the social, emotional stress that they have gone through. And therefore to us is to say to the teachers, look, you have made it to the children, that you can make it, and therefore write this examination by just focusing and relaxing and taking it a day as it comes, and therefore you have our support.
Yeah, Mugwena, I mean, you know, in the run-up to these exams, there was so much discussion around will the matric papers stay the same? And of course we know that the Basic Education Department has said that they don't want the class of 2020 to be known as the class who was given a free ride when it came to their matric finals. But again, as is always the case with every exam, there are those pupils who have the benefit of proper classrooms, of all the resources that they can possibly need to prepare as best they can. And on the flip side of that, we have the situation that our reporters have been telling us around the country of pupils who don't even have the basics of just having data to get the information that they need to prep for their exams from their teachers. You know, what is the plan for those pupils, Mugwena? Not only for these exams, but for what's to come afterwards if the results are not what they hope it would be?
Thanks. What we know is that those particular learners who are basically in areas which are very vulnerable to, inadequate facilities that are there, poor infrastructure, what the teachers have been doing was to take these learners and then spend weekends with them in the schools in order to compensate for the fact that they don't have the data. So there's work that the teachers have done that may not have been recorded, because we know that principals will call us and say, we are sleeping in schools with our learners, we are teaching them during 8 o'clock in the evening because they don't have that. So what is going to happen, we're now leaving the whole thing into the hands of the quality assurer, Malusi, in order to ensure that they look at the circumstances under which other learners have been writing this particular examination, take that into account when they do the standardization, and in order to ensure that these learners are not at advantage, not or not willingness, but it is precisely because we need to understand the mental health of the learners, but also the circumstances that they would not be able to change because it is beyond their own control and so forth. And therefore, the quality assurer has a responsibility to ensure that when they quality assure, they take that into account in terms of particular subjects, particular learning proficiencies that the learners may not have been able to cover, and on the basis of that, make a determination in terms of how they adjust in order to ensure that there's comparability between 2019 and 2020, including the previous 3 years. We were not able to convince the Department of Education to follow other countries in the world that have said, well, let's reduce the number of subjects to be written. It is not because we are reducing the standard, but therefore base some of the subjects on the continuous assessment, taking into account that there are gateway subjects that you needed more time to deal with, like physical science, accounting, and mathematics, and language, and the other subjects were not. The department was mechanical around those particular issues, and therefore, as I'm saying, the only people so that we assist these learners who might have not had enough exposure to the necessary teaching in terms of face-to-face, and they did not have online. The Ashura has that particular latitude to be able to do that in terms of the Act.
We've just spoken to Basic Education Minister Angie Motshekga on Newzroom Afrika just a short while ago. In fact, she's visiting one of the schools in the country. I believe it's in Soweto, ahead of this first paper that's happening later this morning. She says an 80% pass rate for the matric class of 2020 will be a bonus if it happens. What's your take on that number?
Well, Michelle, as SADTU, we always don't believe in the statistics. We believe in the quality of the examination. So it's 80, it's 75%, it's 100%. It depends on what you're talking about. The issue here is that we are encouraging our learners to do their best to ensure, one, is that the pass that they get is a quality pass. They can be able to go to a university, a college, and be able to make a difference in their country. And that's what we are looking at. So we are not going to be part of prophesizing about 80% or 81%. That to us is not an issue. The issue is let our learners write under a conducive environment, let them prove that they are able to make it, and they will make it, and therefore we will then support them as whatever results that comes out will support them.
All right, well, thanks very much for joining us this morning on the AM report. Mugwena Maluleke is General Secretary of SADTU, the country's teachers union, and of course it's all about the matrics today as they sit down for that first exam paper, and of course we wish them all of the very best.